It's JW from Sober Militia podcast and blog. And I'm here today with Bobby C. And we're going to talk about a little bit of a controversial topic today and get some of our opinions about some of the things we feel moving forward. Bobby, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
I'll be the co-host for this podcast, and my name is Bobby C., a friend in recovery and beyond. And I'd like to just say hi to all the listeners and viewers, and don't forget to go to Facebook, Sober Militia, X Stop Writing, Anonymous Addictions. Bobby C. You can join Anonymous Addictions on Bobby C. Sorello Facebook, or go to Twitter, and you can find me Anonymous Addictions. And I even have a little podcast on FM. That's Anchor FM. You can go to Anonymous Addictions. So you can find us a lot of different ways. And we're hoping that you'll give us some questions for this week. After this podcast, you'll put out some questions on Facebook on Sober Militia. Because, we're anxious to hear everybody's, opinions, views, and ideas. So back to you, John.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So I'm on xstopwriting.com is where my website is. And so any video cast, podcast, or blog is all found through that. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And anywhere you see this video cast, you can respond to or comment and let us know if you have any thoughts or questions about what we're talking about. And we're hoping to use that to move forward and do some other like live video cast coming up soon where you can maybe join in and ask questions there too. So we will keep this thing going and, keep continuing to play with new ideas and how we're going to get this out there to you. I know we had a little bit of a snafu last week, but that's all right. We're here today. So we'll keep going with this for now. So one of the things we wanted to jump into is the last parts of my blog. I started a new series that is somewhat controversial and it's very passion based on, or depending on who you're talking to, what their opinion is in regards to the content. And what I started to write about was what I like to call easy sobriety. And if you've read, any of my my blogs or listened to even some of my, podcasts, you'll know that I've been toying with this idea of having different roads in our path to our sobrieties, and some of them can be easy and some of them can be hard. And I think as I came into this kind of blind to that world and not really knowing what to expect, not hearing a lot of stories, not having a lot of background to base my, my path on, I just took off. I just took off and started it. And however it happened. And when I started doing the blogging and, started the group on Facebook and started to get to know people and meeting people, I started to realize that there was a very different experience that was happening out there for a lot of people. And that got me thinking about it. I was like, well, if I was to sum up my feeling or my opinion about my experience, I would say it's been easy. And that doesn't go over real well for a lot of people. And, rightfully so. I understand that, some people may be struggling and having a hard time with this. And I don't ever mean to discount anybody's experience at all. But when I talk about my experience, that is the word I would use. And it has been. It's been easy. And even a little bit of fun, if I wanted to be so bold. And so when I went to start writing this blog, I thought, well, let me just kind of throw out there and see if I can put into words why I feel that my experience has been maybe different than others. And so I started writing about this blog. But, the bottom line is what we're talking about here is the potential and possibility for easy sobriety. Is it a thing? Is it possible? Is it controversial? Is it not controversial? What do you think? Bobby, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a big, you've been doing a lot of work on this, and I really appreciate it. And I know the viewers and the listeners appreciate it. The writings, for someone to understand where John's coming from, go to xstopwriting.com and read the easy sobriety. Then John goes into choice. Then he goes into knowledge. Then John goes into attitude. And then today, I think today was his latest blog about connectivity, which a lot of people were talking about. I mean, this what we're talking about is nothing new. This stuff's been out here for years and years. for centuries, actually. I'm telling you, centuries, okay? We're talking about mindfulness. We're talking about power of choice. We're talking about you being in control of your destiny. And we're not trying to discount anybody's struggle, okay? We're talking about a program for me is like means my life, you know, my program, it means my life, you know, so we're talking about our lives. And I could go back in history and talk about some of the problems I had. And John, I think John's intention, I know John's intention is to help people, even if you're challenged, you're having these challenges, which I want to use that word challenge,
Right.
because we're going to have challenges in sobriety. In life, we're having challenges, okay? So we're not talking about you're not going to go through challenges and hard times and stuff like that. We're just trying to make it easier. That's, you know,
Yeah.
if John can make it easy, if I can have an easy sobriety today, it's possible for anybody. So go back and read those blogs, because John is an excellent writer, and he laid out everything. And in between all the writing, you click on the audio, and John talks it through. You know, for some people that don't like to read, they
Yeah.
like to listen. So he talks it through, and that helps me, because when I listen, I usually listen to John talking his writing, you know, and it's cool. It's really good. It's cool. I enjoy it. You know, I
Awesome.
do.
I appreciate that, Bobby. Yeah, it's been a fun experience, and I think you know, what really kind of got this going was when I put out the idea on the very first blog. I just said easy sobriety, and I kind of introduced it like as a thing, and and it was from my experience. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right? This is me. I started writing my blogs in a way as a way to work through my own personal experiences and feelings with sobriety, and that's what this idea of easy sobriety is. And so I posted it on a forum and got some pretty intense feedback about it from a lot of people, and I thought it was really interesting because I thought um, I understand that there might be people that are not having that same experience, and that may not feel good to hear. And that's not what the intent is. The intent is just saying, hey, look, this is me. Here's my path. And along this path, this is what I found. And if I can offer anything to anybody where that might connect, then that's why I'm putting it out there. You know, there might be one thing, one little experience I put out there that may connect with somebody and make their life a little bit easier. Then yay, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. Like Bobby said, we definitely don't want to discount anybody's experience, because I know a lot of people are struggling. But I guess the biggest question I put out there is, do we have to? Do we have to struggle? And my wife and I both have experienced that you don't. And that's why I decided to write about it. I'm like, well, let's just see where this goes. Let's see what we can do with this. So after that initial kind of introduction to the idea, I kind of tried to break it down. I came up with four things, or ideas that I felt were what helped us along our journey. And the very first day I talked to my wife about it, I said, what do you think? Why do you feel like it's been so easy for us? And for her, it was, she said, first she said, we were just ready, which I think I get that. I think, you have to be in a place where you're ready to do it. But then from there, I took it one step further and I said, yeah, we are ready, but we made a decision, that it was time for us. And so that's why I wrote the first step in the series as being choice. And by choice, I mean, you have to make that choice to become sober for you. You can't do it for anybody else. As a nicotine user, I tried to quit many times, for a spouse or a partner, or for my kid, or for my health. And never once have I been able to do it successfully for those reasons. And same with sobriety. There's times I tried to quit drinking before in the past too. And I just wasn't able to do it because I wasn't doing it for the right reason. And so when I wrote about choice, that's where we're coming from. It's like you have to see it and come up with your reason, whatever that is. And it needs to be about you. That's going to be strong enough to carry you through when there maybe is some harder times. But that was the first step for me. Is when I went into this, I decided that it was time, period. And from that moment on, it's been no looking back this time. One of the people that responded to the first post said something about, well, look at your journey up till here. It's obviously been very difficult for you. He's like, you had to be in therapy and you had to do all these things. And I go, yeah, absolutely. There's not a person in the world that hasn't had a difficult journey up until their sobriety date. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the day I quit. From that moment on, I felt it has been easy. It definitely wasn't easy getting up to that point. But that's what we're talking about, right? Sobriety. Why has it been easy up to this point? So for me, the first part was you got to be honest with yourself, make a choice for you, nobody else, and then follow that choice like there's no tomorrow. And that's the first step for me. How does that sit with you, Bobby?
Yeah. Yep. Well, let's just look at it like this. John and I are here together, one and one, two people. So uh, we're actually doing a program right now. If you want to call that, or we're helping each other, so we're connecting. We made a choice to do this. We chose to get on today. We had some knowledge. John wrote a big blog. It takes knowledge. I wrote some things down. I have some things in front of me. I have a better attitude because I want to do it. And that's a choice in itself. And then we're connecting. John and I, right now, right this second, we're connecting. And when any listener connects on to us, you're connecting too. So yeah, the choice. Here's the deal with me. Let me go back until my early sobriety days. I can do that. I'll go back to my early sobriety days. Not my drunk-a-log, but the day I said yes to help. I remember it was like yesterday. I'm telling you. I have blogs about the day I said yes to help. A friend came over, and he asked me to go to a meeting, a Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and I said yes. And that was the start of my choice. I chose to meet with Lonnie, and I chose to say yes to help. So that was the start. So right from the start, I can see that the choices that I made. And we can get into that a little deeper. But here's my point: is that what I found out in the beginning, fellowship, okay, fellowshipping, having fun, playing volleyball. We had softball meetings. We would go out and things like John was out all week with his son. There's no different than that. He's with his son. He's with his wife. He's having fun. He's experiencing life. That's the same thing as me being with the fellowship. There's no difference. If you're not fellowshipping with your family, then sooner or later you will, believe me, you'll have to, because then you'll have to face the responsibility that your family is, you have a responsibility to your family. And so fellowshipping, fun, being positive. So when I go to meetings or when I look up spiritual books or when I go to meditation groups and different types of things, in the beginning I went to some Coda stuff, I was getting knowledge, I was getting information. What was I doing? I was not drinking. I was not drinking. Sobriety just means the absence of alcohol. Sober just means I'm not drunk. Okay, so easy sobriety is easy because I'm not drinking. I think in the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, they talk about the easier, softer way. I don't think, I know they do. The easier, softer way is what we're doing. We're staying sober. We're not drinking. We're not drunk. Sobriety, but we're trying to live life on life's terms. And John and I are just putting out some stuff. Yeah, there's going to be some controversy, but really there isn't. I mean, there's just as many people out there that believe in the easy stuff than believe in the hard stuff. And like John said, and I'll say it over and over again, we're not here to invalidate your struggles. We're not here to invalidate your challenges. We're not talking about that. We're talking about sobriety, not drinking. What am I grateful for? What would I have been grateful for the first day to come into a program? To not drink. That's what I'm doing. So I don't know. Back to you, John.
Yeah, there's a lot of, a lot of different opinions on it all. And, you got to remember too, we're talking about people going into it for, now, the starting of it. If you've been in it for a year or 6 months or, a month or whatever it is, and that's been a struggle for you, then we're really not talking to that person at this point right now, right? We're talking about, hey, when we go into this, how can we go into it with a different state of mind? And that's what I'm trying to kind of offer here. And so the second step in this, and I don't even like using the step, but the second approach, right? The second thing we need to be thinking about when we go into sobriety is the knowledge piece. And for me, this was arguably the most important because when I first started, the couple things were going down. One is I decided to write. So I started to write a blog every day for 30 days about my sobriety experience. And the second thing I did was I picked a book that was recommended to me from my wife and a friend of mine who's been sober for 3 years. And it was Annie Grace's book, This Naked Mind. And I started reading that the day I quit as well. And within that, I immediately found some information, which I called, the knowledge piece, that just fueled everything about my experience moving forward. And there was two things. One was she made a comment in that book that said that alcohol is the only drug you have to make an excuse not to do. And that just kind of bothered me. It really bugged me, that idea. And we've experienced it. If you've ever, when you've quit and you've gone to meet friends or do something with family or whatever, and when you tell them that you are not drinking, you're questioned, right? Like people ask you, what's wrong? Why are you not drinking? What is the deal? And then they look at you like you have a problem, right? So that really bothered me. I didn't like that idea. And then I experienced it, of course, the very first Tuesday after I quit drinking when I went to my bowling league, and the exact same thing happened where I walked up to the bar and to get I think I had a non-alcoholic beer that day, but I went up to the bar and the bartender knew me well enough to just start pouring my beer. And I said, "Hey, well, I'm not drinking today." And they're like, "Why? What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, I decided to quit." And they were like, "Oh, don't be a quitter," And then the barrage of questions came. And so that comment from her in that book really bothered me and got me thinking a lot about, the societal aspect of alcohol. And then the second piece that really, I think it's the most knowledge piece that I still do today, which has been super helpful. And that's the idea that that alcohol is, societally pushed down our throats from the day we're old enough to know what it is. If you think back when you were growing up as a kid, you saw your parents doing it. You saw your uncles and aunts doing it, and everybody was having so much fun. And you thought, "Wow, what is this thing?" And we saw the advertisements. We saw the people doing it in TV shows. We saw people doing it in movies and books. They talk about it even in schools, literature that we read. It's just forced upon us as the thing you're supposed to do as soon as you're able. And so what happens? We turn 21. Most of us do it before then, but let's just be, legal about it. We turn 21. What do? We go out and drink this substance to the point of, near alcohol poisoning. Maybe some of us even got alcohol poisoning. Threw up, promised ourselves that night we'd never do it again. How well does that work for us? We do it again and again and again and again. And so those two pieces were the biggest for me. And what that second piece did for me when I started thinking about from the social aspect was I started to use that to view the world differently. And I started watching things like every time I saw an ad, I looked at what is that ad trying to say? And it's always trying to say the same thing. Your life's better with alcohol. If you saw, when you watch people drinking, right? When listening to my, my colleagues coming into work on Monday, hungover, talking about how much, fun they had, but also complaining at the same time they can barely get through the day. And then the next thing out of their mouth is talking about how much they're looking forward to happy hour on Friday. So the way we build up and kind of build a shrine to alcohol all the time started to really bother me. And so I used that to kind of just focus myself. Anytime I was out, anytime I was watching TV, anytime I was reading a book, I would kind of look for those things to kind of say, hey, what's going on here and why are they doing it? And it always revolved around trying to sell the fact that alcohol is necessary in order to live properly. And then here I am, not drinking, living better than I ever lived before, and thinking, wow, you guys are full of shit. You know what I mean? And so that knowledge piece really fueled my desire to stay on the path that I'd chosen when I decided to quit drinking. Do you have any kind of experiences like that with knowledge or specific aspects of alcohol that you learned, on your journey, Bobby, that kind of helped you along the way?
Well, you know what, John? I think I'll be doing a podcast on that separately, and you're welcome to join me with that discussion
Sure.
because that's I've been talking about that for years. I'm talking years and years.
Yeah.
Okay. In Alcoholics Anonymous, they the traditions tell you not to talk about outside issues, and a lot of people in Alcoholics Anonymous don't like to talk about nothing outside issues, but I do, because I have the ability to make my own choices today, and I believe that it's my right and my responsibility to talk about outside issues. And the alcohol industry, uh, I could talk hours about that, the devastating consequences that alcohol has on society. So right now we'll just stick with I wanted to just touch base on something you said that I'm a little different with, uh, coming from this place. It's when I speak, I'm speaking with to the person. I don't care if you're still drinking. I don't care what stage of change you're in. I don't care if you're new, maybe 1 week, a month, 2 weeks. I'm talking to the person, all the people. I don't care if you have 20 years. I don't care if you have 30 years. There's people with 30 years are having a tough time and they struggle still. Uh, I'm here to talk about all human beings, uh, and hopefully help anyone with any addiction, uh, substance or processed addictions. So, John, is talking about coming from one side, but I believe as John and I partner up with this stuff, he's going to be coming from a different whole angle too, to know that he is helping the whole. You know, we're talking about helping the world. We're not talking about just specific people. We're gonna by talking about mindfulness and by choices and knowledge and attitudes and connected with other people. We're talking about maybe helping change the world. I mean, as small as that may be, because there's small steps. We take small little steps. And if we just say one thing to somebody that can click and helps another human being, that's all we care about.
Yeah, that's the bottom line, right? It's just trying to get information out there, and if we've said this before. If you like something, take it and run with it. If you don't like it, throw it away. It ain't gonna
That's
hurt our
right.
feelings, right?
That's right.
We're just talking about our experiences, and so far, this is what I've experienced, and that's why I'm writing about it. So yeah, knowledge. I think it's incredibly powerful. I think for everybody, it's going to be different. And I said in the blog is that you have to kind of go out and research that out, though. You got to find it. Find out the information, the knowledge, the armor, I think I called it in the blog, that you can use to begin walking through, knowing that that is going to protect you. Because if you believe something truly, um, you're going to act in that best interest. But you got to have something like that, right? If you just quit because the doctor said to, or you just quit because your spouse is bugging you, you don't have any armor, right? You're just trying to do this thing that can be very difficult, as we know. And if you don't have the armor, then it's going to be difficult. And I think the biggest reason why is you're going to miss it. And to me, the moment you miss something, the moment you basically start your timer to when you're going to fall. And I can honestly say that I never missed drinking once I started that first step, that first day. And it's because I felt like I had made the right choice, and I had armed myself with enough knowledge to begin walking that path. And from that moment, I haven't missed it. And I think that is why it's been easier for me. And I think that's it's the crucial step, is like, I want to be able to just grab someone and say, find your thing, man, find your thing. Because once you do, you're going to realize this is pretty easy. Okay. So then from after knowledge, I went into attitude. So the next process, or the next thing we want to be thinking about in our, beginning of our journey, is our attitude. And by attitude, I mean a couple of things, but most importantly, it's that it's a lifestyle. You can't, I think I said this exactly in these words. You can't go into sobriety half-assed. You just can't. There's too much at stake. There's too much history. There's too much core beliefs. There's too many, negative thought patterns or whatever that's going to just swallow you up if you go in there like that. So it's got to be full-fledged. And as a vegetarian, I've been a vegetarian for 20 years. It was a very similar thing. I just made the decision and decided that's who I was. And I've never looked back. And it's not a big deal, right? And same with this. You have to decide that that is who you are, that you are a person who does not drink. And I think that the way you carry yourself into this is a big deal. I've seen a lot of people talking about it's the terminology, right? The things like, I don't want to drink anymore. Well, if you say you don't want to, that means there's an option to still do it, right? You can't say things like that, or I wish I didn't drink, or I wish I could stop, or I wish it wasn't so hard, or just saying that it's hard. Any of those things, what it does is it sets us up to be able to take the opposing opinion, right? Well, it is hard. If I tell myself it's hard, it's going to be hard. If I feel like I can't quit, I won't quit. Any of those things. And so the attitude piece is that looking at this journey and saying, maybe, not even that I can, or that I I guess that's the right way to look at it. It's just to say you already did it, right? I don't drink. That should be the only thing you say in your mind, right? Not, I don't want to, or not, I wish I could, quit. You're saying, I just don't. And then you just start looking at everything going forward, and from that lens. And I think that's another route that I went, is to me, I knew I wasn't a drinker anymore. I didn't associate with it. I didn't like anything about it. I felt like it was very wrong. I felt like it's a big lie that's being told to us. And to me, that's not okay with me anymore. And so I don't drink. And that's how I went into this. And, it's got to be a staunch, devout belief and attitude that it's not something that's made for you. In the blog, I asked you a question. I said, ask yourself this question. And I said, would I blank? And then I said, fill in the blank with the thing you would not do in any circumstance. Because we all have those, right? And I'm not going to get into details because I could get a little crazy, but just think about that. What's something that you would not do for any reason whatsoever? And fill in that blank with that. And then think about, why are you so certain you would never do that thing? And you're going to come up with a reason. Okay. It could be related to your family. It could be related to the way you were brought up. It could be related to whatever. But you're going to come up with a piece of information that's going to say, this is the reason why there's no way I would ever do that thing. Okay. And then think to myself, how can I apply that to alcohol? Right. And then use that same question about alcohol, and then fill in the blank with something that you can believe in strong enough that you can walk down that path. And it sounds a little maybe hard to kind of conceptualize at first, but give it a try. Start with the one about just asking yourself something you would never do, and then fill in the information behind that as to why you wouldn't do it. And then think about, what could I do with alcohol to kind of support the same feeling that I would never drink again. So anyway, that was the attitude piece is a fun one for me, because I think it's the thing I feel the most confident about at this point, especially when people start giving me a hard time when they've read some of these easy ones and saying, hey, well, you're kind of new in this sobriety thing. You don't know what's going to happen and what have you, which is, it's all true. But I've been through court during my sobriety. I've been through some kind of big issues in the last 5 or 6 months that and I know in the past would have sent me straight to the bottle, and it hasn't even been a thought, So I think I'm in a pretty good situation where I don't have to worry about it anymore. And part of that is because of that attitude that I have towards it. How about you, Bobby? What do you think about attitude and sobriety?
You know what? I just want to touch base on just that knowledge piece real quick because this helped me early. And, you know, we're talking about easy sobriety. We're not talking about easy life. John didn't write easy life.
Oh,
He wrote, he said easy sobriety, easy being sober, easy not drinking, easy not drunk. He didn't say easy life. Okay. So life has challenges. Just like he said, he has to go to court. I faced challenges all my 36 years I've chased. And during them 36 years, there were many, many different challenges, adversities. Here's the thing for me. This is what I found out. That's why I'm talking to everybody, not just one specific person. I was lucky. Somebody came into my life and they didn't push something, a belief system on me. They weren't constantly telling me what to do. That was Lonnie. That was my first sponsor. He didn't push anything on me. And I was lucky because I had this thirst. I was kind of a rebel anyhow. I was defiant. They talk about defiant, don't be defiant. I believe defiancy and being a little indefiant, right? What is defiancy? Defiant, being defiant, rebellious. I was rebellious. So I checked other things out. I didn't buy everything that I was listening to. I checked things out. I went to ACOA. I did one-on-one group. And I would suggest to people, I'm going to make a suggestion, try other things too. Incorporate other things into your already great program. Check out a meditation meeting. Go to one Dharma recovery meeting. Check out a smart recovery meeting. Go on to John's blog, read some different articles. Go to CODA meetings. You don't have to do all this thing because most of all, everything we're saying, you're not going to, who can absorb all the stuff we're talking about? Nobody. Most of the stuff is all you have to do is listen and subliminally and what is it? Osmosis.
mm.
You'll get this stuff just by listening. You don't have to do anything. Just by listening subliminally, you'll hear it. That's how affirmations work. Repetitive over and over again. You know, and when you go on YouTube and put your earphones on to some guided meditation, you're not doing anything. You're listening, and your subconscious will absorb this stuff. So we're not telling you to go run out and do all these things. We're just saying we're putting some things out. Like John said, and other programs say, take what you want, leave the rest. But I'm gonna here tell you, most all programs are copies. 12-step. Bill Wilson, most of the stuff is copied from religion, some medical, and a lot of it's copied from Carnegie because Bill Wilson was he was a businessman. He was a venture, you know, he was a stockbroker. He knew a lot of successful people. And back then, and still today, successful people listen to Napoleon Hill stuff and Carnegie stuff, and they're getting all this information. So most of these programs are borrowed anyhow, and some from his own ideas. And that's what we're doing. We're borrowing some things, putting in our own ideas, and going to create something hopefully that helps people, you know. But attitude, John said it on attitude. You know, each day I have to try to the attitude of gratitude. What do they tell us over and over again in these little books, right? Attitude of gratitude. I mean, you go on Twitter, that's all you see. And look, I'm not grateful every day, okay? I'm not grateful. Sometimes I'm miserable. Sometimes I'm angry. Sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I'm depressed. Sometimes I'm all these things. But guess what? I don't drink. See? Easy sobriety. I don't drink. Because you know what? Everybody has their own thing. There's moderation therapy. There's all kinds of different modalities and harm reduction and stuff like that. For me, I'm only talking for me. I choose not to drink today, not because I'm afraid of anything. I choose because I don't want to spend the money. I don't want hangovers. I don't want car wrecks. I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose my kids. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose relationships. I don't want to lose my health. Okay? I don't want to lose my self-esteem. I don't want to lose my confidence. What did I just do? I just made a pros and cons like that. Pros and cons list. These are the things I don't want to do. Okay. And then I can go over to the cost of me using. I'll tell you that on the next thing. But attitude of gratitude, yeah, we say that over and over again. Do I have it all the time? Hell no. Me and my wife had a little thing today, but it was a blowout, but it was 5 minutes, and then you get back on track. And the past is the past. Every moment is a new opportunity to grow. Do I drink? No. That's pretty easy. Okay. I don't drink. I don't put it in my mouth. Back to you, John.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so then we came into today. As a matter of fact, I wrote the last little part of this, and I called it connection. So easy sobriety and connection. And I don't think there's any new thoughts necessarily on this, but it is a big part of it. And one of the things that before I even quit drinking, as I ran across a TED Talk from a guy named Johan Hari. And in that he said, and I've said this several times throughout all my blogs, but it just hit me so strongly that I can't get rid of it. So I have to acknowledge it whenever I can. But he said the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. And what he's talking about is human connection. And there was a bunch of studies done with this, and it's pretty fascinating. In my blog, I put a link to the TED Talk, so you might want to check that out. But for me, I broke it down into two things. You have human connection, which is your obvious, right? Finding people that you can connect with and relate to in what you're trying to do. And one of the most positive comments that came out of my Easy Sobriety post lately was from a guy who said that that it's important to connect to people who are already where you want to be, which is really neat. And I really liked that because, the tendency is to find people who are trying to quit drinking with you. The problem with that, I think, and this is what I said in the blog, is that people who are just starting are, may not be armed with enough knowledge and enough tools to help themselves, let alone help you. And I think one of the worst things we can experience while we're, taking those first steps is seeing somebody we know not make it, right? That doesn't give us a lot of confidence. We see people, falling off and think, well, shoot, if they're going to fall off, why wouldn't I? And so I liked the idea of, finding people that are where you want to be, not finding people who are doing what you're doing. And I think that's an important thing to think about. And you'd be surprised how many people are out there. Since I've kind of jumped on this journey, I found several neighbors around me that have drank in years and years and years. I met Bobby, people who have been doing this for a long time that don't even talk about it. And they don't talk about it because they don't need to. It's past. It's not part of their life anymore. And those are the people I'd say, let's, find those guys and those women, connect with them. And my wife is already into that kind of a place, which I think is very interesting. And, we quit at the same time and we're relatively new in this, but she doesn't need to talk about it anymore. It's just not part of her makeup anymore, which is pretty powerful when you think about it. And I said, so someone like that is a perfect person to surround yourself with. She would gladly help anybody that came along and asked her for help in sobriety, but she wouldn't talk the sober talk, as I said in my blog. She would talk more about living well without alcohol. She would approach it differently. Me, on the other hand, is somebody who, has done the same thing and feel as confident in my sobriety as she does. Yet I am approaching it from the point of view that I'm like, hey, this stuff is fascinating to me. I want to talk about it. Why is this stuff going on? Why is it harder for this person and not as hard for this person? And why am I having the experiences I'm having? I'm like, I want to know and understand it, And so if you come to me and ask for help, I'm going to be pushing that stuff down your throat, like, look at all the absurdities that surround alcohol and the addiction and the society and the business and all that. I'm going to focus on that stuff because it should anger you, right? It should make you want to have nothing to do with it. So I would be a different way to approach it. And so those are those different kind of human connections you can get. In AA, they talk about sponsorship and, that has its own benefits. And, but to me, it's more about just finding your people that are where you want to be, and then try to emulate that, talk to them, ask questions to them, and let them help guide you through your first steps. But then the second part that was really kind of fun for me was talking about personal connections. And what I mean by that is one of the first things I did when I quit was started to write. And so I found a connection with writing. And that's not going to be the same for everybody, but you might have your own thing. But for me, what writing did is it got me to understand myself and understand where I am, who I am, where I'm going, why I'm going there. And it got me to understand that and believe it to such an extent that I just don't have any other way of thinking about it. Like, it's just who I am now. And so that was a personal connection. And in a way, it was a personal connection with myself, which is pretty powerful. And that's a human connection too, right? And then on another side of that was the idea of helping. I found a connection to this idea of wanting to help people. And I think in my past, I was always so consumed with my own crap that I didn't have time to think about helping somebody else because I couldn't even barely help myself. But since I started on this journey and in my sobriety, what I found pretty immediately was that I wanted to talk to people and help people wherever I can, whether it's from my writing or podcasts or from videos or conversations or whatever. If I can help, I like to try to help. And that's been another connection that I've made that's been really powerful for me. And it keeps me on my path too. And so I think if it works for me, it's got to work for somebody else, right? Can you think of some connections you've made, Bobby, throughout all this that have been helpful and keeping you where you need to be?
Well, I'll talk about right now. The connection with you is in helping me. Okay, that I don't want for 1 minute to let the viewers and listeners think that Bobby C does not want to connect to help myself. This is part of my self-care is to grow. I like expanding my consciousness. I like to grow. I like to learn new things, new beliefs, new ideas, I like to hear new opinions, different sides. So I don't have to be just indoctrinated with one system. Uh, that's why I suggest to people to check out other different things. If you believe in spirituality, get a different book. Go to a little meditation group. Check something else out. If you don't believe in uh, God or religion, and Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't fit you, go to a secular recovery group that doesn't talk about all that the godly stuff and stuff like that. If you feel like doing your own thing, connect with John, and other people. Uh, if you believe in like some type of mindfulness, you might want to check out, like I said, the Dharma recovery meeting where they sit around and it's peaceful and you listen to a little meditation and you talk about how it's the power of choice. They believe, like a lot of other programs believe, that it all comes from within us. This is what I found out in 36 years. I found out no matter where you go, where the person is, I don't care if you're in AA, SMART, Dharma, Life Ring, I don't care if you're doing Sinclair, if you're with the Freedom Model, it doesn't matter. This is what I found out. And the people want to take responsibility. They want to give the responsibility to the program, They, I found out it all comes from them. It's all the same. There's one similarity that I found out by going to all these different places and by talking to all these different people, is that we all have this one thing in common. It comes from us. Everybody wants to say they're going to give their care and their life over to a care of society, a certain society. To me, that's giving your will and your life when we're not checking other things out. I'm here to tell you that there's more to find out, and more is being revealed to me, and it's some cool, really cool stuff. Yeah, the
Cool.
connectiveness. I wrote down here, first, you make a decision, gather information, evaluate, get alternatives, take small steps, little tiny small steps, not big steps, small steps. And you don't even have to. Some days you don't do nothing. Doing nothing is something. Doing nothing
Absolutely.
is something. It's doing nothing is just relaxing, peace. Going for a walk in nature. You don't have to do nothing. Nothingness is a thing in itself. It's a beautiful thing. Some of these things require action. Even doing nothing requires action. Then there's going to be challenges. And that takes time and it takes some energy, and then there's the connectivity, and then you got maintenance, and then you got some more challenges in life. Oh, and then guess what? Then we create new habits, and these things take time. They used to say time, this I must earn. Wisdom comes through time. By discovering, John said it, go out and search this journey called life. It's it's your responsibility. It's your life. It's your path. It's your truth. Go discover it. And don't run. I'm not telling you to run away from your program. Stay. But just check out other things.
I think the bottom line is being open, right? Just the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you're going to be when you run into a new problem. And I think that's what this is all about. It's just going out and find those things. Don't just sit there and expect it to come to you. You got to do a little work. But the work's kind of fun as far as what I found. When I started digging into things, I started being, thinking that it was pretty fascinating. It's interesting. And then the more you talk to people too, you get to learn about people and other people's struggles and, their approaches and how they're dealing with things, and there's so much to it. It's endless. And, what I did here was just talk about, I was just trying to figure out how can I put into words what has been easy for me. And, for me, that's kind of the first couple of things that came to mind was that idea of making the right choice for the right reason, and gathering the knowledge, finding the information that's going to help you kind of walk your walk, walking your walk with the right attitude, knowing that you're already there, knowing that you're going to do it, and then making those connections with people that are going to help you out along the way. And I'd say, if I was to break it down into a couple of things, that's about as good as I can articulate it at this point, and I'm going to spend more time working on this, and Bobby and I are going to talk about, some ways to maybe put all this together and, develop some other ideas and see if we can put that out for people to help them out. Cause it's powerful, it's amazing stuff. And we want people to have a little bit of an easier time with this. I don't want people to struggle and talk about how painful it is. I want people to say, this is friggin' awesome, which is basically what I've been saying for 5 months or so. So we're hoping we can pass that along to the new people. So, well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up there with the kind of end of the Easy Sobriety series. And like I said, what we'd love is to get some feedback from you guys about this. And it can be from some of the core belief stuff. It can be from, the joys of sobriety we talked about for a while. It can be the easy sobrieties, the different steps in that, what works for you, what doesn't work. Throw out some questions. And what we'd like to do is do a live Facebook where you can come on and throw some questions at us, and we'll try to answer them for you real time, and see how that kind of works out. So stay in touch with us. You can reach me on, all the different platforms. Everything is Stop Writing for me. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, I think that's it, right? And then my website is xstopwriting.com. You can find Bobby on Facebook and Twitter as well through Anonymous Addiction. And we'll keep this thing rolling and see where it leads us. Bobby, thanks again for coming on. It's always nice to talk with you and hear your, years and years and years of knowledge that you've gathered throughout this and bounce it off my newer, time. But it's always good to have you.
Okay, I'm just going to say that I'm going to leave here just saying, think, question, observe, look around, observe what you're seeing, talk to people, observe and become aware, And this is Bobby C., a friend in recovery and beyond, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
All right. Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, John.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Until then, stay strong, stay safe, stay sober.